Okay, welcome back to the Hush Wife's Visionary Outlooks with dealing with domestic violence. And my first series actually, and this is number one, which is I labeled and titled as What Happens to Them. Um, this title that I chose for this first one is called What Happens to Them because the other day, which was last month, I have been actually going through a cycle of courts where I have a protective order and I have, I think my husband is the one, I think, who pushes the line every now and again to poke at me. And I'm sorry, I don't think it, I know it. And, and I'm not trying to label and call them all these names per se versus, having someone backlash me as, people usually do. Oh, it's always three sides to a story, etc. But instead of trying to choose words that are so directed towards one-eyed vision, a bird's view type of deal, I decide to try and fix my words where, it's a broad, clear outlook, visionary. But anyway, my what happened to them means what happens to the other women or men or victims or children, the victims of domestic violence. When you try and go through the right avenues, for instance, I have a license to carry, I have a protective order, I have a divorce in process, and stuff with property and cars and etc. going on with my husband right now. I find that I know him more so than I think anyone on earth because I've seen so many sides of him. And it's kind of, it is frightening. I don't even like saying the word hate, and I don't even care to say the word frightening or fear because we shouldn't fear anyone on earth. But the things that has happened between him and I would say, at times I am frightened, not out of me not protecting myself because I do have a license to carry this time around, but it's more so because I just know his capabilities and I know that he's masking himself, and as this representative every day, I'm pretty sure it's pretty damaging and dangerous to be walking around that way when you really aren't who you are portraying to be. So with knowing that I have this man in this picture that's getting away with contempt and different things that are really on the line of having him arrested and having a warrant out for him. I mean, just justice in general. These are things where we're going through these processes, and just leave me alone and you go through yours. You just leave me alone at this point. And when the person won't leave you alone or has an excuse to why they're here or there or doing this and not providing that, or showing up in different places that are extremely suspicious, and with common sense and being the intelligent person that he is, because I did marry him for a few of those qualities, as he has married me for my qualities. It's just dangerous. To get back to the title, what happens to them? This is the gray area. This right here. When you're going through your divorce, or even if you get to a point where, even if you're married, but when you're going through the works of it, to get this person out of your life, or you out of their life, whatever which way it is. This process in between, in my opinion, is a red zone, because no matter what you do, meaning I've been to, I have police report, I have pictures, I have, I've been to the courts, I tried to fill out paperwork for them to arrest him, do points and real reporting. He has gone to court, said what he said for his contempt, and has actually gotten away with it because he had very, very good responses. Whether it was a lie. And with things being a lie and accepted in a courtroom, and then the judge says, oh, you guys are going through the divorce, just handle it in court. Boom. In divorce court, she meant. It's pretty unfair to the person trying to do the things in the right ways, in the right steps. And it's very disappointing. It's failing. It just completely amazes me what you have to go through to sustain every day, especially if you're in the home that you've been in, meaning he knows exactly where you are. And if you have children, the thing you don't want to do is remove them from what they're familiar from, to stir them more and depress them and make them start going through channels. It's like involving DFACS to a degree. You just don't want to imbalance them. And those are the types of things that I do consider. I'll talk about that in my, my video 8, when I talk about and elaborate about the children. But, those are the things that's unfair. Now, if you're just a domestic person going through domestic violence by yourself, that's a whole nother channel. You could probably move around a lot easier because you don't have to think about your children and how they feel and having this and having that and the extra expenses of being out of a familiar place, out of your home. Those are the things you have to factor in when doing those things. But inside of this, I'm just trying to get back to the point, but inside of this gray area, this red zone, I call it, this is when these women become missing. This is when they get killed. This is when everybody is on the news. Because this is when she tried to tell you, or told you guys so. You guys being the system, or that being justice, or hotlines, or organizations, and the therapists, and the family members, or his family members. This is when, all of that reaching out becomes completely nonchalant. You wonder why you don't hear from that person, or, trying to prove a point or a side doesn't even matter anymore, because it is a hopeless area completely, because you don't have the help that is that's supposedly out there to assist you with such a thing. You know what I mean? It's just not fair to a degree. However, we're coping through this with me being a first-hand person. I'm not going to call myself a victim of it, because I just don't care for labeling myself that way, because I'm much better than that. I'm bigger than that. And maybe that's my pride jumping in, but at the same time, I have had so many bad days out of all of this, especially with being a positive person, or a light bulb, an innovative person, and an insightful person who I find myself helping other people through different things, but with this bottled in, it's just not a fair state, because I just think that he can snap at any given point and come and do whatever the hell he wants to. Excuse my French with the word H-E, you know. But that's how I feel. I mean, it leaves me, honestly, with this paper trail in a place where I will probably have to defend myself, or better yet, our children, through safety. I'll have to react by utilizing my license to carry, because they didn't arrest them with proof and evidence, and they didn't do anything. So with me driving to work or doing anything, and then I see him in my routes to work, it's unfair. Or if I'm turning out the subdivision and he's there, it's just not fair, because I have to deal with that on a daily. Now, the police have said I have to follow him or whatever, or keep him in sight, and then dial 911, and then it'll be proof that he's there. I go stand on the sidewalk and say, hey, come and do something to me, or follow him. I mean, with the laws, the way the laws are in place, it's a no-win. Something has to be happening, or I have to be kidnapped or killed or being killed or something, I think, along that lines, in order to catch him in action for them, you know. And it's not fair to anyone going through these situations. So yeah, this is what happens to them in this gray red zone area. This is when the women become missing. And I don't think there are resources for this type of stuff. I called the 1-800-SAFE HAVEN number, and they're like, wow, I'm so sorry that you're going through all of this. But honestly, it served no purpose. You know, I mean, other people, they may have helped or whatever, but them not knowing, I mean, it could be anyone calling at any given point in this process. And just to say, I'm sorry, oh, dial this number, you know, how do you know if that person even has the time or the energy to express everything all over again to someone, you know, and so they can say, oh, yeah, you're really going through it. I mean, dial this number. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So what I have decided to do in this process, because this is what I have to do, is walk around with my license to carry and deal with my situation as I have it and as I go through it. I have no choice. But with all of that said, I honestly can't offer anything as of being constructive advice, but to tell you to get a license to carry if you don't have a felony or a criminal record, because you have to protect yourself. And I've heard that so many times in this process, like, you got to do what you got to do to protect yourself, and of course your children if you have them. So I'm going to end this segment on that note, because that's where you end up. Thank you. Star. Peace.